If you lead a team, manage a brand, head up a field sales force, or set direction for the company, you've most likely experienced a what's missing moment. As an entrepreneur, most of my what's missing moments seem to come around 3 a.m. when I'll awake with a crystal clear thought of something I'm missing in my business. Most recently, I awoke and realized that I was missing an opportunity to double the sustainability phase of strategic thinking development from 1 year to 2 years, giving managers 100 learning touch points to transform the skill into an ingrained habit. What is your most recent what's missing moment? One of the reasons people maintain a high busy rate is that it can be frightening to consider what we're missing, where our blind spots reside. While it may be comforting in the short term to keep our mind occupied with the to-do list, it's often the things that managers miss that causes business failure. Nokia missed the first mover advantage to market mobile phones with touchscreens, even though they developed the touchscreen phone 7 years prior to Apple's introduction of the iPhone. Blockbuster missed the decision to allocate significant resources to an online offering even after Netflix offered to sell themselves to Blockbuster for a mere $50 million. What are you and your team missing that could lead to your business failure? A survey of 190 executives asked how prepared they were for changes in the economic environment, and only one leader replied, totally prepared, while 32% said totally unprepared. Another survey of 500 executives showed that 90% believed they were missing major opportunities in the market. So, how do we ensure that we're doing the best we can not to miss anything that could cause our business to fail? Think and plan. Let's start with what is not a plan. A standalone SWOT analysis is not a plan. A to-do list of tactics is not a plan. A PowerPoint slide deck full of templates that no one uses during the year is not a plan. An Excel spreadsheet outlining this year's budget is not a plan. A list of customers or accounts is not a plan. These items may contribute in some form to the plan, but they are not, by themselves, a plan. A plan is a clear, concise, and written guide of what you are trying to achieve and how you will achieve it. It typically includes a snapshot of the context or situation analysis, a review of your customers, including those you've decided not to target, a description of the competitive landscape, focusing not just on competitors' products and services, but more important, on their strategies and an honest assessment of the company, including the business model, value proposition, and performance gaps. Ideally, a plan will also include the company's purpose in the form of mission, vision, and values, along with the goals, objectives, strategies, tactics, milestones, and metrics to gauge progress. In my experience reviewing hundreds of plans each year to help companies fine-tune them, what separates the great plans from the ones that go unused is the ability to take all this information and distill it into 1 or 2 pages. If a plan is 1 or 2 pages, it's much more likely to be updated, used, and remain relevant. If it's not, it's a zombie, and you've wasted time doing it. As Brian Chesky, CEO of Airbnb, said, if you can't fit your plan on a page or 2, you're not simplifying it enough. Here are 3 areas that are at the root of what's missing moments, and if addressed, can go a long way in developing a better plan. Number 1, trade-offs and the failure to reallocate resources. Many so-called strategies are not strategies at all because they're trying to be all things to all people. Strategy requires trade-offs and the ability to continually evaluate your to-dos and not to-dos. Senior leadership teams need to have strategy conversations on a regular basis that include the candid issue of what areas they are reallocating resources from and to so that they are maximizing their performance. Research has shown that 80% of managers say their senior leaders fail to kill unsuccessful initiatives quickly enough. If you're only reallocating resources once a year, you can be sure that you're falling behind the competition and leaving yourself open to missing good opportunities because your resources are tied up in things that are simply not working. In fact, CEOs who reallocated the most resources in years 1 to 3 of their tenure were more likely to keep their jobs in years 4 to 6 than their colleagues who reallocated less. How often are you and your team reallocating resources? On a quarterly basis, reevaluate your plan and specifically discuss which resources, people, time, projects, budgets should be reallocated. The trade-off matrix is an effective tool for facilitating this strategy conversation. Number 2, groupthink and the failure to use different perspectives. Groupthink occurs when there's a homogeneous group of people with little influence from external perspectives and a high level of pressure to conform. Groupthink tends to reduce the level of objective thinking, remove devil's advocate thinking, and punish those who attempt to do either. A leadership team that's been together for many years should have the advantage of a shared understanding of the business. However, this advantage can be squandered if they become complacent and comfortable with the status quo. Is groupthink a characteristic of your meetings? Research shows the most effective leadership strategy sessions are ones with a consistent core of members who sprinkle in people from other functional areas and use an objective facilitator with expertise in the strategy process. Number 3, competition and the failure to understand competitor strategies. When you consider some of the more prominent companies that have gone into bankruptcy or experienced a significant stall out, it can often be contributed to not understanding their competitor strategies. Back in 2001, the Nokia chairman said, "The mobile industry should remain under the control of the mobile industry and not the computer makers." Okay. When Nintendo came out with their smash hit Wii gaming system, Sony's CEO said he saw it as a niche game, but not a competitor. Oops. And when Apple introduced the iPhone, Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer famously said, "No chance the iPhone is going to get any significant market share." It's one thing to know a competitor's offerings, number of sales reps, and what they gave away at their trade show booth last year. It's entirely different to know the competition at a granular level regarding their capabilities, value proposition, and activities, and how they're configuring their resources to achieve advantage in the market. Does your team truly understand your most dangerous competitor's approach to winning business? Do a deep dive into the competitor strategy profile by periodically examining their business model, including core competencies, capabilities, value chain, customer targets, and differentiating activities to determine if you are at advantage, disadvantage, or parity. To reduce the number of what's missing moments and help you determine the quality of your plan, take the 1-minute plan assessment at strategyskills.com/plan-assessment. If your plan scores between 17 and 20, your team has given the business a great opportunity to succeed. If your plan scores between 13 and 16, your team is just a few adjustments away from being in a rock-solid planning position. If your plan scores between 9 and 12, your team is at a tipping point that can either swing toward marked improvement or a downward spiral. And if your plan scores below 9, your business is in jeopardy of being overwhelmed by market changes and competitive strategies like an inflatable pool float in a tsunami. Surf's up.